Welcome to Science for Sleep. You're in a quiet space now, a place where wonder and rest meet, where the noise of the world fades, and your mind is free to drift through galaxies of thought and stardust. Each night, we'll guide you through calm, story-rich journeys that blend real science with soothing, poetic narration. No pressure to stay awake. You can simply listen, breathe, and let go. Curiosity will carry you until sleep gently arrives. Tonight's story is called How Stars Are Born. Together, we'll float through the silence of deep space, into the quiet clouds where stars begin to form. From invisible dust to glowing giants, you'll follow the cosmic rhythm of birth, light, and transformation. It's a lullaby written by the universe, and tonight, it's just for you. So settle in, close your eyes, let your thoughts fall away, and let the stars tell their story. Let's begin with Chapter 1, A Universe Wrapped in Darkness. You begin your journey in the silence before light. A dark, vast space full of potential, calm and unknown. Here, you meet the first whispers of creation, cold clouds and empty black. That it's not empty, though. It's waiting, watching, breathing. In the quiet dark, you learn what stars dream of before they are born. Before the light, there is stillness. You drift into the dark like a feather falling through silence. Around you, space stretches in every direction, deep and soft as velvet. There is no up or down here. No edge, no end. Only a quiet that feels ancient, older than memory. The kind of quiet that invites thought, that opens the mind like a morning window. This is not the darkness of fear. It is the darkness of beginnings. You are floating through a cradle of the cosmos, far beyond the reach of sun or planet. There are no stars here. Not yet. But the ingredients of stars lie scattered in clouds, delicate veils of gas and dust, hanging still in the cold like forgotten dreams. Hydrogen, the simplest element, drifts in wisps and tendrils. Helium, too, light and shy, and hidden traces of other atoms, barely there, but important. You feel the chill of the void. It's not a cruel cold. It's the untouched temperature of nothing happening. Yet, these clouds are vast. A single one might stretch for light years. From afar, they look like nothing, invisible. But step closer, and you see the soft, smoky layers twisting slowly, like breath held in space. Astronomers call these places molecular clouds, or sometimes, more poetically, stellar nurseries. They are named not for what they are now, but for what they will become. Inside them, tiny pockets begin to stir. You can't see it with your eyes, but you sense it like the faintest pulse. Somewhere deep inside, the pull of gravity starts its patient work. Particles, scattered and light as mist, feel an ancient longing to come together. It's not fast. It might take millions of years. But time doesn't hurry here. You are witnessing the first breath of creation. In the same way your chest rises and falls in sleep, the universe inhales. Particles move toward each other, not with force, but with intention. They gather, slowly forming clumps, denser, heavier. Where before there was quiet drift, now there is motion. Gravity becomes a whisper, and the whisper becomes a hum. You begin to feel it in your bones, as if the space around you remembers how to sing. You pass through one of these forming pockets. It's not hot yet, but it's warmer than the space around it. At its center, pressure grows. And where there's pressure, there is promise. Like seeds beneath winter soil, these knots of matter prepare for something more. The darkness shifts, ever so slightly. Not because light has come, but because you are beginning to see the shape of potential. And that in itself, changes everything. The story of a star begins here, in a place that doesn't look like much, a place that could be overlooked. But everything grand begins small. Everything bright is born in shadow. You float onward, slower now. The silence has deepened, not emptier, but richer, as though the universe is holding its breath, waiting for a spark. You wonder, what will ignite that spark? When does dust decide it wants to burn? It's not a question of want, of course. It is law. Nature obeys its own quiet rhythm, and in the balance between mass and motion, temperature and tension, a pattern emerges. Where matter clumps enough, and pressure climbs high enough, something miraculous begins. You are still far from that moment. For now, there is only the approach, the prelude, the hush before the symphony. And yet, it is not empty. These clouds contain every element that will someday form a planet, a tree, a hand, a thought. In time, they will fuse, break, reform, and shine. But for now, they wait, quiet and unshaped. You close your eyes, or you would if you had eyes in this dream of space. Instead, you sense the movement with your whole being, the way dust curls inward, the way gravity tugs softly at the fabric of nothing, the way something slowly becomes. And in this moment, you realize stars are not just objects. They are stories. They begin with a question. What if? What if matter gathers just enough to change? What if the silence becomes music? What if this darkness is not the end, but the very first word? You drift among these dreams, and somewhere in the distance, a vibration begins. It is faint, gentle, but it is real. Something is stirring, and where there is motion, there will be warmth. Where there is warmth, there will be light. You don't need to rush. The universe never does. Let yourself float, wrapped in the darkness, swaddled in possibility. Let your mind trace the outlines of invisible stars. Let your breath match the rhythm of gathering clouds. There is time. There is silence. There is wonder. And just ahead, deeper in the cloud, a soft glow is beginning to form. Let's move to Chapter 2. Clouds of Stardust and the Breath of Gravity. Your body floats in a sea of invisible dust, light years wide. These clouds, made of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, the ingredients of you, begin to shiver under a silent pressure. Gravity's patient pull, like a breath inhaled slowly, the gas contracts inward that a star is not born in fire, but in the slow hush of collapse. You float now in a place where there is no ground beneath you, no horizon to guide your eyes. All around, a vastness stretches in every direction, soft and silent and endless. The light here is dim, almost absent, as though the universe is holding its breath. And in this quiet space, you begin to notice something that isn't quite visible but somehow surrounds you. Dust. This isn't the kind of dust that settles on shelves. It is older than time as you know it, made of particles so small they seem to whisper through your skin. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, a trace of iron. Elements that once lived in stars long gone. These tiny pieces drift together in great, lazy clouds that span light years. They twist slowly like sleeping giants. Cold, still, waiting. You glide through one of these clouds, the way a thought drifts through your mind. There is no resistance, no sound, just the feeling of being held in something ancient and immense. These clouds are called nebulae, nurseries of stars. They are the wombs of the cosmos, but they don't yet carry fire, only the potential for it. You begin to sense a presence deep within the dust, not a being, but a force. Gravity. It is everywhere and nowhere. You can't see it. You can't hear it. But slowly, gently, you begin to feel its breath. The cloud contracts almost imperceptibly, pulled inward by the weight of itself. It's not dramatic, not fast, just a slow folding, like fabric being gathered in tender hands. Gravity is patient. It doesn't rush. It simply waits, applies pressure, and believes in time. The particles begin to drift a little closer together. Some bump gently, bond, and stay. Others float by. But over millennia, the cloud thickens at its center. The stillness begins to pulse with possibility. There are denser regions now, knots of gas and dust pulling more of their kind toward them. You drift toward one, and it feels like approaching the heartbeat of something not yet alive. The dust becomes heavier around you. The temperature barely rises, but you feel a warmth of sorts, not from heat, but from closeness, from gathering, from intention. Imagine your breath held at the moment before a word is spoken. That is what this feels like. The elements in this cloud are familiar. They are the same things that form your cells, your bones, your blood. The carbon that helps structure your body. The oxygen that fuels your breath. You are not separate from this cloud. You are made from it. You return to it. You notice, here in this cradle of quiet dust, that not all the particles collapse inward evenly. Some whirl into spirals, creating currents that spin like galaxies in miniature. Turbulence. It's not chaos, but a kind of music. A low, slow rhythm of becoming. From the outside, the cloud looks like nothing more than a smudge in the sky. But from within, it is a world of its own. You feel its weight around you, not heavy, but deep. And within that weight, the beginnings of change. A slight warmth, a slight pressure, enough to shift the balance. The cloud thickens. At its core, it begins to glow faintly, not from fusion, not yet, but from friction, from the slow squeeze of gravity turning motion into warmth. You feel it like a distant memory, like a dream just beginning to take shape. Time here stretches. It is not counted in hours or days, but in the turning of galaxies, the drifting of suns. What you feel in moments takes millions of years to unfold. But still, it happens. The collapse continues. More gas gathers. The center tightens. And slowly, like breath being drawn into sleeping lungs, the cloud exhales light. Not bright, not blinding, but present, soft, the whisper of something waking up. This is not the star itself. Not yet, but it is the start of its story. A story told in particles and pressure, in silence and time. You float just outside the densest region now. Behind you, the rest of the cloud still waits. Ahead, the forming heart begins to take shape. You can feel its presence, not fierce, but focused. A center of gravity becoming a center of light. Every part of you is calm. The cloud doesn't ask you to understand. It only asks you to stay, to drift a little closer, to listen, because soon the quiet will begin to warm. Soon the dust will burn, and from that hush, a heartbeat will rise. But before the first pulse of fusion, before fire is born, a quiet shape stirs deeper within the cloud. It isn't a star yet, but it begins to believe it might become one dot, and you, floating near, are the first to feel its gentle awakening. Let us drift closer to the cradle now, where a protostar begins to dream. Let's move to Chapter 3. The Cradle of Light, a protostar awakens. Deep in the densest fold of the cloud, something stirs, not fire yet, but warmth. Not light yet, but motion. You drift closer, witnessing the pulse of a protostar, a quiet embryo wrapped in gas and mystery. It's not a star yet, but it believes. You float gently through a nursery older than memory, deeper than time. The cloud here is thick and cold, like a velvet night pressing in on all sides. There is no up or down, no here or there. Only the sensation of being held in the hush of the cosmos. A quiet breath paused. This cloud, this dark cocoon of interstellar dust, hides something precious. A forming heart. You feel it before you see it. A stirring, a shiver, as if the universe itself is sighing in its sleep. The atoms around you are simple, mostly hydrogen, some helium. They are ancient and light, but under the weight of time and gravity, they are beginning to change. You pass through filaments of gas that have tangled over millions of years, drawn together by the soft, invisible hand of gravity. At the core of this fold, pressure has built like a deep inhale. The gas thickens. Temperature climbs. Not enough to burn, not yet, but enough to begin something. You drift closer, and there it is. A dim sphere, wrapped in swirling veils of gas. A protostar. It doesn't shine the way stars do. Its light is muffled, like a candle behind curtains. But inside, there is movement. Particles dance in rising heat. The core, now denser than the cloud it came from, pulses with soft determination. This is not chaos. It is formation. Imagine an embryo in the womb, protected, fed by the surrounding cloud, changing in tiny increments. That is the protostar. Its shape is uncertain, its fate still unwritten. But it grows. The heat inside is rising steadily, fueled by the gravitational collapse. It is not burning yet, not in the nuclear sense, but it is glowing from within, a warmth born from pressure, not fusion. This phase may last millions of years. And yet, in cosmic terms, it is the blink of an eye. You hover near its edge, watching its gas envelope spin. The spin is slow but purposeful. Conservation of angular momentum, a fundamental law of nature, has gifted it rotation. The more it contracts, the faster it turns. Just like a dancer pulling in her arms, this growing orb tightens and spins with quiet elegance. Surrounding it is a disk, thin, flat, wide. Material flung outward from the growing core, swirling like water circling a drain. This is the birthplace of planets, though that comes later. For now, the protostar is the center of everything. There are no flares, no eruptions, no music, only stillness with a slow heartbeat. You wonder, can something not yet fully alive still feel its destiny? The protostar does not answer, but it glows a little more. Sometimes the gas around it thickens, cooling in places and warming in others. These temperature shifts send shock waves through the disk. You see them ripple, slow and majestic, like the rings that form when a pebble lands in a still pond. Over time, the protostar becomes more spherical. Its gravity pulls it tighter and tighter. The dance inside intensifies. Hydrogen atoms begin to crowd the center, not fusing yet, not quite, but bumping elbows in a space too small for comfort. The pressure is immense. If you could feel it with your skin, it would be crushing. But you feel it with your mind instead, a slow push against the quiet fabric of space. You begin to understand. The star is not born with a bang, but with a hush. With the slow build of heat and mass and possibility. Fusion, the miracle that defines a star, is close. But the protostar is patient. Its surface is turbulent. Swells of gas move like weather systems on a vast, alien world. Magnetic fields begin to tangle and pulse. Winds of hot particles blow outward. This is a restless child, learning to stretch. The protostar is not alone. Others form nearby, hidden in other folds of the nebula. This nursery is busy, though still silent. You drift past distant cousins of your growing star. Some will succeed. Others will fade. What determines which gas clumps become stars? Mass, mostly. Gravity needs enough raw material to fold into itself. Too little, and the collapse halts before ignition. A failed star. A brown dwarf. But your protostar has just enough. Just the right pull. Just the right spin. Just the right breath of heat. It is on the edge of change. And as you watch, you begin to feel that change coming. The outer layers ripple. The magnetic fields flare. The central pressure peaks. Something is about to happen. It is not time yet. But the next breath may be fire. You drift backward, slowly. The gas becomes thinner. The light dimmer. But inside, the core continues to press inward. It believes. And so do you. Soon, the atoms will fuse. Soon, the first light will rise. But first, we must descend deeper into the heart. To witness the moment pressure becomes flame. Let's move to Chapter 4. Fusion, the first spark of forever. Within the heart of that cocoon, pressure becomes destiny. Atoms collide, merge, and a spark is born. Nuclear fusion. From this moment, the protostar glows. It becomes a star, not loudly, not suddenly, but inevitably. You feel its warmth, a lullaby from 4.6 billion years ago. You drift gently toward the very center of the forming protostar, floating through the dense warmth of its collapsing cradle. Here, light still cannot escape. You are wrapped in velvet darkness, surrounded by swirling gas and dust that tightens inward like a giant inhale. Pressure rises, slowly, without panic. It is not hurried. The universe never hurries. It waits, it gathers, it leans into silence. You feel it all around you, the building heat, the invisible squeeze of gravity shaping destiny from chaos. Every atom here has been pulled by a silent promise. Come closer, come warmer, come brighter. The particles obey. Hydrogen atoms press tighter into one another, whispering secrets of what they might become. The temperature climbs. 10,000 degrees. 100,000 degrees. You cannot feel the heat the way you do on Earth. This warmth is ancient, dense, and absolute. It is the kind of warmth that shapes time itself, that softens space. The atoms begin to tremble, to collide with a fervor no longer aimless. And then, like a heartbeat echoing across billions of miles, it happens. The first fusion. Two hydrogen nuclei, after dancing near each other for centuries of cosmic time, finally join hands. They overcome their mutual resistance, their electric defiance, and merge. In that union, a burst of energy is released, not explosive, not chaotic, but illuminating. The first true light is born inside the protostar, not as flame, but as fusion, a quiet miracle that will burn for billions of years. This moment is not loud. There are no fireworks in the void, no sound, because there is no air to carry it. But if silence could glow, if stillness could sing, it would sound like this. Hydrogen becoming helium, mass becoming energy, potential becoming purpose. You are there, witnessing the miracle not as an outsider, but as a child of it. Because you are. Every breath you take owes itself to this quiet spark. Every heartbeat, every blink, every thought, they all echo from that first transformation of matter into light. The protostar no longer dreams of becoming. It is becoming. It has crossed an invisible threshold, not with thunder, but with intention. A new force awakens within it, radiation pressure. It pushes back against the inward crush of gravity, creating a quiet equilibrium. Not a fight, but a dance. A balance. The war is over. The star has found its shape. You float just outside now, watching from the cradle's edge. The gas that once hid its glow begins to clear. You see the first glimmers of light. Faint, trembling, golden. It is not yet a blazing sun, but it is something new, something real. A star. You don't realize how long you've been drifting. The light hums, not in your ears, but in your bones. Your cells remember this process. You are made of the results of fusion. Your calcium, your iron, your oxygen, all born in furnaces like this one, long ago, in stars now gone silent. You are not watching a story. You are watching your story. The light grows stronger. The star pulses in a rhythm that feels familiar, like a lullaby, like breathing. It will burn quietly for billions of years, fusing hydrogen into helium, releasing light with every moment. That light will travel. It will stretch through space, touch the edges of nothingness, and someday it will reach a planet. It will warm oceans. It will feed green leaves. It will touch skin. It will become life. But tonight, it is only light. Freshly born. Gentle. Patient. You imagine holding it in your hand. This starlight. Not hot. Not burning. But alive. As if it knows what it means to become something more. To rise out of collapse. Not as debris, but as warmth. The gas cloud that once smothered the light begins to thin. You can see the outlines of other stars, distant, curious, watching the birth of their new sibling. The cradle opens, and the universe, for the first time, sees this new glow. Still, the star is young. It wobbles in its own balance. There is still settling to do, still time to mature, but it has passed the first test. It has sparked the first flame. It will now enter a long season of steady burning, calm radiance, and stillness. You float with it a little longer. You listen. Fusion is not a roar. It is a whisper of purpose, a rhythm of forever. And as you drift beside this newborn sun, something soft within you stretches open, a quiet awe, a sleepy wonder. And you wonder, what happens next? Does this light move through the dark? Does it find something waiting? Or does it become the path itself? Let's check in next chapter 5. Light years and lonely songs. Now a full star. It sings, not in sound, but in radiation and rhythm. Light stretches across space, reaching planets not yet imagined. You ride that light, drifting for light years, watching it pass through dust, water, and time. Every beam is a message. I was here. The star has awakened. It no longer hides behind veils of gas and dust. Its light is soft, yet persistent, a glowing pulse in the quiet dark. You float nearby, basking in its warmth, watching photons spill from its core like fireflies escaping a lantern. This is not light that flickers or flares. It is steady, patient, like the slow unfolding of a thought. Each particle of light begins its journey not at the surface, but deep within, in the furnace of fusion, where hydrogen becomes helium and energy is born. There, in that blinding heart, it takes a single photon thousands of years to bump and bounce its way outward. A long migration through plasma and pressure. But once it reaches the surface, it is free. And so it moves. Light leaps away from the star, untethered now, traveling at a speed that would carry it around Earth 7 times in a single second. But you're not rushing. You drift alongside it. Time stretches. The void is not empty, but vast. And this beam, this one quiet note from the star's endless song, continues forward. You are now riding a wave of light. Ahead of you, billions of miles. Behind you, the memory of heat. The star grows smaller in the distance, but its presence lingers. You are no longer at its surface, but you still carry its story. The space between stars is cold and dark, but with each passing second, light carves a path. It travels through clouds of interstellar dust, scattering a little, glowing briefly as it brushes against particles suspended in the vacuum. Some beams will never reach a destination. They will wander forever, like nomads without a home. Others will land softly on distant worlds, warming alien soil, tickling atmospheres, painting dawns on planets no eye has seen. You imagine one of those planets now. A blue one, green with life, orbiting far from here, waiting quietly. One day, this light may touch its surface. One day, a pair of eyes may look up and feel something ancient brush against their skin. But for now, the light keeps moving. This is the rhythm of radiation. Not noise, but frequency. A humming that shapes the world without ever asking to be noticed. It lights oceans. It guides seeds. It wakes the sleeping cells inside leaves, urging them to drink the sun. Photosynthesis begins with a single beam like this one. The spark of life inside a chloroplast begins here. You watch as the light splinters and dances. Some of it bends around gravity wells. Some reflects off frozen comets. Some is swallowed whole by black space, never seen again. Yet even in vanishing, it leaves a whisper. I tried. These beams of light are more than energy. They are records. Each carries with it the age of its parent star, the mood of its spectrum, the echo of the moment it was born. And now, as you float beside it, you understand what ancient astronomers meant when they said the stars tell stories. Every twinkle is a letter. Every glow, a sentence. You are not just seeing light. You are reading it. It speaks of hydrogen and helium, of temperature and time. It tells you how old the universe is, how fast it's stretching, how it once began in a single burst. This language is not spoken with mouths, but with wavelengths and waves. And in its presence, your body begins to slow. There is something comforting about the certainty of light. No matter how far it travels, it never forgets where it came from. No matter how dark the space, it never loses its way. You let yourself drift deeper into this knowing. You close your eyes, but still see that star behind your eyelids. You picture its light passing through time, through the moment dinosaurs vanished, through the birth of oceans, through the silence before sound. A single beam, carrying all of that, reaching your skin now. The warmth you feel on a sunny day is not current. It is a memory, an old kiss from a distant past, arriving just now to say hello. And so, the star sings. Not loudly, but eternally. Its radiation is its music, and you are its listener. You imagine stars across the galaxy, each singing their own song in this strange choir of thermonuclear lullabies. No lyrics, just frequency and flicker. You are alone in space, but never truly lonely. These songs are everywhere. They remind you that something is always reaching out, always offering a fragment of itself, even across impossible distances. Light is patient. Light waits. It never hurries, and yet it arrives exactly when it must. You are moving now, carried gently by that light across 1 billion miles, past frozen moons, past swirling gas giants, past rings of debris that shimmer in the dark. You pass worlds not yet born, oceans still beneath ice, mountains that rise from molten rock. Light touches them all, and now you do too. You wonder what else this beam will see, what planets it may kiss, what eyes it may awaken, what stories it may begin without even knowing. And still it travels. Even as stars die and galaxies drift apart, this light remembers its origin. It carries the soul of its star like a lantern through the night. You breathe in slowly. This is the comfort of starlight. It does not ask to be fast or loud or seen. It simply shines. And in doing so, it shapes everything. Ahead, something begins to form. You see dust moving again, coalescing, spinning, gathering mass like hands cupping water. The beginnings of planets are dancing in the star's warm gravity. Where light goes, creation follows. You feel yourself drawn in. Something is being born around this star. You follow the pull. You follow the light. And now, you begin to sense a rhythm not just in the light, but in the orbits around it. In the quiet swirl of matter, a question forms. What happens when light leaves behind more than heat? What happens when it gives birth to worlds? Let's check in next chapter 6. Planets in the wake of light. Around the young star, matter gathers like dancers in orbit. Dust clings to dust, ice to ice, and slowly, painfully, planets form. You float among them, seeing the birth of Earth, Mars, and more. A solar system takes shape in silence. You wonder, was this how your home began? The star you watched awaken now shines steadily, radiating warmth into the great stillness around it. Its breath, made of solar winds and starlight, reaches far across the space it commands. Around it, a great disk of gas and dust spins slowly, a wide, shallow whirlpool of cosmic leftovers. This is the cradle from which planets rise. You float through this newborn space, where nothing yet feels solid, but everything holds promise. The dust grains here are ancient, older than the star itself. Tiny fragments of earlier stars, long gone, whisper through the gas. They are carbon, silicon, iron, and ice, the simple, stubborn bones of everything you know. In this soft ring of possibility, the dust begins to touch. It is gentle at first, a quiet gathering. Particles meet and stick, guided by tiny electric charges, like static that draws lint to fabric. There is no rush. Time flows differently here. It stretches, unfolds. A million years pass like the slow turn of a page. As you drift closer, you see the dance grow more complex. What once was dust becomes pebbles. What once was pebbles becomes boulders. Slowly, inch by inch, the debris builds itself up. The collisions grow louder, more determined. Gravity begins to whisper louder than static. It says, come together. Grow. Hold. You pass a swirling clump of rock and ice. It spins like a slow pirouette in space, pulling other fragments into its arms. This is how the rocky planets begin, born not in fire, but in accumulation. They are not built in a day, or even an age. They are sculpted through relentless patience. The inner part of the disk is warmer, kissed directly by the young star's heat. Here, metals and rocks condense, forming the bones of Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. You drift near what will someday become your home. Right now, it is only a molten embryo of stone, colliding with other worldlets. Each impact reshapes it. Each scar tells a story. Further out, the disk is colder, quieter. Here, ice is strong enough to survive. These are the lands where giants are born. Jupiter grows first, a massive ball of gas wrapped around a rocky heart. Its pull is strong enough to clear its path, sculpting the edges of the solar nursery. Saturn follows, beautiful and slow, building its rings from the leftovers of failed moons. You pass the icy outskirts, where Uranus and Neptune drift in the dim light. These distant planets form more slowly, in the quiet calm of deep space. Their hearts are ice and rock, wrapped in thick coats of hydrogen and helium. They seem to hum, low and slow, like sleeping whales beneath a frozen sea. Throughout the disk, smaller bodies form and fade. Some become moons, others remain as asteroids, the forgotten children of planetary birth. Comets wait even farther, frozen in the distant reaches, ready to return only when the star calls them back. As you drift through this vast ballet, you feel the story taking shape. The solar system does not arrive fully formed. It is a slow becoming, a process of endless trial and grace. Nothing is wasted. Every piece finds its place. You sense the earth begin to cool, crust hardening over molten seas. You imagine the first rain falling from the sky, and the first ocean opening its eyes to the stars. Life, though still far off, waits just beneath the surface, curled like a secret in the dark. You drift past Mars, where valleys run deep and ancient rivers once flowed. You glimpse Venus, thick with clouds, hiding her surface like a dream half remembered. Even Mercury, closest to the fire, holds its silence like a monk in prayer. Each world is different. Each is born from the same dust, yet shaped by chance, distance, and time. The planets are siblings, but not twins. You look back at the star, now surrounded by its children. A family of worlds, spinning in the same gentle rhythm. You realize, this could have happened anywhere. Maybe it has happened everywhere. Maybe every star tells a similar story. Your own story, your body, your breath, it all begins here. In this cloud, in this light, the earth you stand on was once only dust. Your bones, your blood, your heartbeat, all of it forged in forgotten collisions. You float above it all, suspended in a moment that stretches forever. This is the space between creation and becoming. A lullaby sung by gravity, heat, and time. But the star's life is not still. It is only beginning. What seems steady now will one day flicker. What feels eternal will begin to change. And in the quiet fire of its core, something new is stirring. Let's move to Chapter 7. The middle of a star's life, calm, bright, and still. The star settles into its longest phase, steady and kind. It burns hydrogen slowly, shining with gentle constancy. This is the age of warmth, of life. You feel the peace of a star that simply is, like you. It does not need to prove anything. It just glows. For millions upon millions of years, your star lives in quiet dignity. It has passed through its chaotic youth, the fierce collapse, the awakening fire. Now it enters the long exhale of existence, a phase of grace, of balance. You float near it now, wrapped in its light. There is no hurry, no sharp edges, no surprise. The star hums softly, not in sound, but in rhythm. It radiates light not as a burst, but as a breath. Each second, it turns hydrogen into helium, just enough to keep its warmth alive. Not too much, not too little. A golden middle. You watch this slow alchemy, this sacred steadiness. Inside, the core is a furnace, but from the outside, it feels like a campfire in the vast dark of space. Reliable, patient. You drift in the space just beyond its reach, and feel how this calm glow makes everything else possible. Without it, planets would freeze. Winds wouldn't blow. Seeds wouldn't sprout. Life, as you know it, depends on this period of quiet shining. This is the star's main sequence. That's what astronomers call it, the longest and most stable chapter of a star's life. Most of the stars you see in the sky are living in this phase. The sun above your Earth is one of them, glowing this way for over 4 billion years. And so you understand, Stars do not spend most of their time being born or dying. They spend it living, just like you. The hydrogen at the core fuses into helium through a process that feels both ancient and elegant. It's called nuclear fusion, but you don't need the name to feel its beauty. It's like watching the tide roll in or a candle quietly burning down. The energy it releases travels outward, gently pushing against gravity's endless pull inward. The result is balance, a steady dance, a truce between fire and force. You float closer. The outer layers of the star are not solid, but they shimmer like silk in sunlight. This surface, called the photosphere, is the part that sends light toward you. From here, it travels millions of miles to warm planets, to scatter across clouds, to kiss the leaves of trees. You think of Earth, how its oceans reflect this light, how people walk under it every day without thinking about the quiet miracle above. And yet, the star asks for nothing. It shines for the sake of shining. Inside the star, layers churn slowly. The energy produced in the core does not race outward. It takes thousands, even millions, of years to reach the surface. A single photon may bounce for centuries before it escapes into the universe. It teaches you something about patience, about how even light must wait. And still, despite this delay, the star remains steady. Its surface flickers ever so slightly, a heartbeat in slow motion. Some parts rotate a little faster than others. Some magnetic lines twist and snap, giving rise to solar flares or sunspots. But nothing disturbs its central calm. Like a sleeping giant who occasionally stirs, the star holds itself in quiet control. You drift now through time as well as space. Millions of years pass like pages turned by wind. Civilizations rise and fall on planets warmed by this star. Forests grow, deserts shift. Creatures look up and wonder. Still, the star continues. You feel its comfort in your own breath. That slow inhale and exhale you didn't notice until now. The way your chest rises, soft and steady, matching the pulse of this celestial being. It glows, and so do you. It is in this phase that stars become caretakers. Their light stabilizes climates. Their gravity keeps planets in motion. Their constancy gives life the chance to evolve, to stretch, to dream. You imagine the life forming under its gaze, not just on Earth, but perhaps elsewhere. Far-off worlds orbiting their own stars, their own calm suns, bathing in this same soft radiance. Maybe someone else is floating like you, listening to their star. You understand now that this moment, this phase, is a gift. Not a climax, not a finale, but a pause. A prolonged sigh of warmth in a universe that so often rushes toward collapse or chaos. And like all things, it won't last forever. The hydrogen that fuels this serenity is not infinite. It burns slowly, but it does burn. Every moment of light is also a moment of loss. Each beautiful second takes the star one step closer to change. But change is not something to fear. Not in the life of a star. It's just the next part of the rhythm. And so, the star continues, unaware of the future, unburdened by time. It shines because that is what it was born to do. It doesn't hurry. It doesn't cling. It glows in the present. You linger here a little longer, basking in that glow, letting it ease your thoughts, your breath, your body. For a while, nothing needs to be solved. Nothing needs to be done. The star is here, and so are you. Somewhere, deep inside it, the balance begins to shift, ever so slightly. The helium grows. The hydrogen thins. A new song is tuning in the core, quiet for now. You drift with it, feeling the faintest tug of change. Not an ending, a soft preparation, a question forming, not yet asked. What happens when even stars grow old? Let's check in next chapter 8. A star's aging heart. Over millions of years, the star's fuel begins to change. Helium takes over where hydrogen once burned. Its light flickers subtly, still bright, but different. You sense it in your bones. Even the stars age. Even they evolve, quietly and with grace. The light is still there, but it carries a different rhythm now. You float in the gentle warmth of a star that is no longer young, yet far from finished. Its glow surrounds you like a lullaby humming from the cosmos, a song it has been singing for billions of years. But now, the melody shifts. The hydrogen in its core, once plentiful, once eager to fuse and feed the fire, begins to run low. The star does not panic. It adjusts. It remembers how to breathe differently. Gravity, ever patient, leans in just a little more. And beneath the surface, something ancient stirs. Imagine a heart, not made of flesh, but of fire. A center once beating with hydrogen now pulses with helium. The change is slow, like a long inhale before a sigh. The core contracts slightly, the outer layers expand. Your star begins to swell. You drift through its atmosphere, now looser, more bloated than before. The surface is cooler, redder, like coals instead of flame. You are witnessing the quiet becoming of a red giant. Not a death, not yet, but a transformation. The star is aging, yes, but with a dignity that feels like wisdom. You hover near its outer edge. The gases ripple around you like silk in slow motion. Helium atoms, once too shy to merge, now begin to dance under the immense heat and pressure of a deepened core. Fusion begins again, not with the youthful exuberance of hydrogen, but with the steady confidence of helium turning into carbon. The balance the star once knew is gone, and yet a new balance arises. Outer layers puff outward, massive and soft. The star pulses slightly, its size changing like a breath held, then released. A rhythm of expansion, a story of letting go. You think of your own breath, of how your lungs know when to release, when to gather again. This star does something similar. It trusts gravity to shape its next chapter, and gravity, in return, continues its slow embrace. The light reaching you is older now, softer in tone, but richer in depth. It carries the essence of change, the kind of change that does not demand attention, but simply is. You close your eyes and feel it against your skin like warm rain, timeless and calm. Inside, the star is a workshop of quiet alchemy. Helium becomes carbon. In more massive stars, carbon may go on to become neon, oxygen, even iron. But your star, like your chapter, knows its limits. It will not reach that far. It has found its purpose in this gentle phase of life. You listen. There is no sound, but you feel the story being told. Through photons, through heat, through memory. The star remembers when it was young, compact, burning bright with the first touch of fusion. Now it remembers differently. It holds the gravity of time. As you float closer, you see the shifting granules of its surface, cells of hot plasma rising and falling like waves on a sleeping ocean. This is convection, energy traveling outward, not in a straight path, but in gentle spirals and cycles, like thoughts drifting across the mind before sleep. This star has entered a reflective state. It burns not to prove itself, but because it must. It burns as an act of being. You wonder, gently, what this aging will lead to. But the star does not rush you toward that thought. It simply glows. You drift above it, wrapped in its radiance, lulled by its patience. There are no sharp lines in space, no clocks ticking loudly. Just the slow dance of energy and gravity, folding time into shape. And here, in this vast stillness, you feel a kinship with the star's aging heart. You, too, are always becoming, always shifting. Not worse, not better, just deeper. The star, once so defined by hydrogen, is now made of more complex parts. In its core, a new story begins. One with layers, a burning shell of hydrogen around a core of helium, and one day, perhaps more. You begin to sense the weight of those layers. The shell fuses gently, like a whisper. But beneath it, the helium fusion presses harder. Carbon accumulates, quiet and solid, at the star's center. A seed of what will one day be left behind. Still, the light does not falter. If anything, it grows. Red giants are enormous, their luminosity amplified even as their surface cools. You float in this paradox, a cooler, dimmer flame that nonetheless shines brighter than it ever has before. You think of moments in your life that felt like that, when letting go made room for more light, when slowing down made everything clearer. The star has no regrets. It simply follows its nature. You do the same. All around you, the space dust begins to shimmer faintly, as though remembering the starlight that helped it become. The star gives without asking. Its aging is an act of generosity. The winds from its surface begin to grow stronger, stellar winds that carry away its outer material bit by bit. Not with violence, but with softness, like someone slowly opening their hand and letting go of what they once held tightly. You drift with these winds, carried gently, like a seed on a breeze. The star still burns, but you feel that a shift is near. There is a sense of closure forming in its heart. A knowing. The carbon at its center is quiet, solid, a promise of what comes next. But not yet. For now, you remain with this aging star, wrapped in its expanding arms, cradled by its light. You do not rush. You simply witness. And somewhere, in the slow rhythm of this change, you wonder, what happens when the light begins to fade? What remains after the burning ends? Let's check in Chapter 9. When a star says goodbye, the end doesn't come in darkness, but in brilliance. For small stars, it's a sigh, a release into a white dwarf. For giants, it's a roar, a supernova echoing across galaxies. You witness both, a final bloom and a quiet fade. Every ending, it seems, is a beginning too. The star you've been traveling with has grown old. Not weary, not broken, just changed. Its center, once a harmonious dance of hydrogen and helium, is now heavier, denser, layered like the rings of an ancient tree. You drift quietly near it, watching how its surface pulses with a slower rhythm, like the calm breath of someone dreaming. The star still shines. It hasn't gone dark, but you sense a difference now. Like a candle that flickers near the end, its glow feels less certain, more introspective. It is remembering itself, you think. It is writing its own final lines in light. Not all stars in the same way. It depends, softly, on their size. Your companion is a gentle, medium-sized star, like the sun that warms your own world. For stars like this, death is a slow unfurling, not a sudden silence, but a surrender. You float beside it as the outer layers begin to drift away, one by one, like petals releasing from a flower. Each layer carries away part of the star's history. Particles that once helped build light now released into space like seeds. These layers expand outward in shimmering shells, creating what scientists call a planetary nebula. But it's not a planet, really. It's the ghost of a star's atmosphere, stretching its final breath into color and motion. Blues and reds and quiet golds ripple through the darkness, a painting that will last for tens of thousands of years. At the center of this soft explosion lies what remains, the core. Now small, dense, and fiercely hot, it no longer fuses atoms. It no longer grows, but it shines purely from memory. This is a white dwarf, a final ember in the cosmic fireplace, glowing with the echoes of everything that came before. You watch it quietly. It is no longer a star, but something between a memory and a monument. If you could touch it, it would burn brighter than any fire. But it will not collapse further. It has found its stillness. And then there are the giants. Elsewhere, far from this gentle graveyard, a larger star lives out its final moments with far less restraint. Massive stars burn faster, more recklessly, using their fuel like a storm uses wind. And when their core runs out of elements to fuse, they face a wall. They collapse, not gradually, but all at once. A sudden implosion under their own immense weight. You float through this moment as though in slow motion. The core folds in on itself, and in that final instant, it rebounds. The outer layers are flung outward with unimaginable force. This is a supernova, the loudest goodbye in the universe. A single flash outshines entire galaxies for a moment. And those stars make no sound in space. You can almost feel the roar. The explosion sends elements flying into space. Iron, gold, uranium, all born in the furnace of that final breath. These are the elements that make up mountains, oceans, bloodstreams, and rings. You are stardust, they say. Here, in this moment, you see it being made. In the aftermath, there are two possible endings. One is a neutron star, a core crushed so tightly that it spins like a ballerina, emitting pulses of energy like a ticking lighthouse. It's no wider than a city, but its mass outweighs the sun. You drift near one, and its rhythm pulses through your chest like a second heartbeat. The other ending is darker still. If the star was massive enough, it becomes something even light cannot escape. A black hole. It doesn't shine, doesn't reflect, doesn't speak. It simply is. A presence. A silence. A place where time folds and vanishes. You don't get too close. You don't need to. Its pull is eternal. But even from a distance, you feel awe. Fear, yes, but also peace. The kind of peace that comes from accepting the limits of knowing. Not everything must be understood to be felt. Death, in the cosmos, is never a true end. From the scattered shells of white dwarfs and the roaring ashes of supernovae, new clouds will form. New stars will rise. Planets will grow from dust. Life, perhaps, will blink open new eyes. You think of the atoms in your hands, the breath in your lungs. How many stars had to die for you to be here now, floating through memory, listening to the soft pulse of the universe? Perhaps nothing ever truly ends. It only changes form, brightness to dust, heat to memory, star to seed. You float on, and ahead of you, there is stillness again, a quiet cloud, cold, wide, waiting, dust and gravity. The beginning, once more. Let's move to last chapter. Stardust again, the circle never breaks. The star is gone, but its atoms remain, scattered across space. Some will become flowers. Some oceans. Some, you. Everything you are was once a star, dreaming in silence. You return to the cloud of dust, to rest where it all began. The cycle continues. So do you. The star lived for billions of years, but it could not live forever. Nothing does. Yet nothing truly ends, either. What was once a great shining sun has released its final breath into the cosmos. It no longer burns, no longer pulses with fusion's warmth. And yet, you feel no loss. There is no sorrow here, only change. The star has exhaled its body into the universe. Its core, once dense and fiery, now rests as a white dwarf or perhaps as the invisible gravity of a neutron star. Around it, scattered like the petals of a galactic flower, are the elements it made in its final moments. Iron, carbon, oxygen, gold. These are not the ashes of something dead. These are the seeds of everything new. You drift with them now, gently turning in the dark. You are part of the dust once more. Your body dissolves into the flow, becoming indistinguishable from the cosmic cloud that surrounds you. The atoms that made the star's light will soon become part of something else. Maybe a planet, maybe a cell, maybe a child breathing for the first time. You pass through a nebula, glowing with the soft colors of ionized gases, pink from hydrogen, green from oxygen, violet from helium. It is quiet here, yet the silence hums with purpose. This is not empty space. This is a nursery. The same forces that shaped the star before are at work again. Slowly, gently, clouds of dust begin to gather. A shiver moves through the gas, a whisper of gravity nudging the particles toward each other. They swirl, embrace, and form something new. You watch as time stretches and folds. In this slowness, there is comfort. Nothing is rushed in space. 1,000,000 years pass like a blink, and in that blink, a new star is born. It is small, shy, barely glowing. But it grows. It warms. It believes. The cycle continues. And within this cycle, you begin to see yourself. Your body, too, is stardust. Your bones are made of calcium forged in the bellies of ancient suns. Your blood carries iron born in supernovae. The carbon in your breath was once drifting in space, waiting to be useful, to be loved. You are not simply living in the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself. You think of your hands, your voice, your dreams. They are made of atoms that have lived 1,000 lives. They have been ocean waves, mountain stones, whale hearts, and fern leaves. They have traveled from one end of the galaxy to the other, over and over again. Nothing is ever wasted, not even light. You remember the beam of light you followed from the heart of a star. It traveled for years, untouched, until it found you. And when you are gone, that light will keep moving into other skies, other eyes, other stories. What is born from a star is never lost. It only changes shape. In your quiet drift, you feel time unspool like silk. The beginning and the end are not 2 points, but one breath, drawn in and out. Over and over again, you return to the cloud, the place where stars are born. You are part of it now. And still, you are you. A memory of warmth, a whisper of light, a promise of what comes next. And somewhere nearby, a young star stirs in its sleep. A flicker, a breath. You wonder what stories it will tell, what planets will gather around it, what beings will look up one night and wonder who they are and where they came from. You already know. And still, you drift, wrapped in silence. Held by gravity, carried by time. The star has ended, but the music hasn't stopped. It simply changes key. You begin to hear it again, not with your ears, but with your body. A low, slow hum, a vibration in the darkness, a rhythm beneath all things, a voice that says, again, and so it begins. And somewhere inside this softness, inside this drift, you sense the next chapter of the universe already forming. Not with fire, not with noise, but with breath, and gravity, and dust, And so, in the hush between stars, you settle into stillness. Not an end, but a beginning again. Just stardust, remembering how to dream.